Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
No, you haven't done that one.
Cool.
Oh,
Cool.
Oh my God. Oh, is your name his name too?
We'll see. I mean, by the song's logic, it should also be yours, but that's fine.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's...
Dude, who the fuck came up with that song?
I don't know. I don't have time to look it up, but
Yeah.
Sure,
and I'm not gonna.
it's researchable for sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make Future Rain look it up because I feel like that'd be focusing too much on the bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh shit! What an intro!
Yeah.
What an intro! Oh man. Well, welcome back, everyone. So Jeremy, sorry, you moved, but no one can tell.
I know. Yes, my wife and I moved apartments. We moved to the unit next door to ours. And so we worked on that Friday, Saturday, and a little bit today because I had to do some shelving things. But yeah, it looks exactly the same. Par for, the extra bedroom and bathroom, and the appliances are different, but other than that, it's the exact same layout. In fact, I was feeling much like our title character today, um, for the show, because we'd be moving, and then I would find myself in one of the apartments, and then I would forget which one I was in for a second, because we're moving things in and out. They have the exact same layout, and so I'm moving things, and we're going from one to the other, and I'll just be like, this is the old one, okay, and then I'll grab something, and I'm just like super disoriented, and yeah, so I felt a lot like Nemo there for a second.
Well, I was gonna ask, are the appliances in y'all's new apartment newer?
They're better, yes. The fridge, I believe, is brand new because there was plastic on the bottom the night before we moved in. That was cool. The washer and dryers are bigger, which is definitely going to be a help.
Nice.
Because we're so sick of doing like 6 loads of laundry. You know what I mean? We just give me like 2 at max.
Yeah, that's wasteful, man.
I agree. I agree.
See, to be honest, that's the one thing I'm worried about moving is because Ashley and I have a washer and dryer that was given to us as and not really a wedding gift, but I think more of like a moving in gift when we got our first apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm worried about when we move, like, what if we find an apartment that already has a washer and dryer? What are we gonna do with that washer and dryer?
We sold ours to Haley's parents, so because that happened to us, and they wouldn't let us switch them out. So
really,
yeah, no. And so we're
that's
like,
interesting.
all right, fine.
Well, see, and I find in bigger cities they already have that for you. It's like, no, just use our shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to us.
I'm tired. That's for sure. All right. I have to go to work tomorrow.
Well, and here's another question. I'm assuming, I feel like you told me y'all's old apartment was on the second floor, right?
Third.
Holy shit! So where was this one? Was this still on the third floor, or?
Oh yeah, no, literally it's next door.
Okay, good. So y'all just have to go.
Yes, we share a wall. So
okay.
Yeah, it was literally next door, the next unit over.
Yeah. See, okay, hang on, everyone. That's the other thing that scares me about when Ashley and I move eventually is, like, yeah, pretty much every apartment we've lived in, we've ended up on the second floor, which honestly, we're like, that's fine. It's being on the third floor that fucking, like, we're just like, oh no.
Yeah, third floor totally sucks, but it's fine. I mean, this time obviously was a breeze because
yeah, y'all don't have to go
still,
that far.
it still gave me a tremendous amount of anxiety because there was still like stuff everywhere, and we had to find a place for it again. And because yes, it's exactly the same, but we're like we don't want us to bring junk over, so we have to like get rid of junk and throw stuff away and give stuff away and all that stuff. So, but there was stuff
Yeah.
everywhere. It was a nightmare. But it's all done. Looks like we have lived here for years. um,
Well,
already.
well,
So.
I was telling Ashley about when y'all moved from Midland, how you had, your boxes of movies, but you were doing one of, and you left it blank until you finished packing all your
Mhm.
movies. And she was
Yeah,
like, "Well, that's really smart." I was like, "No, no, no. I wasn't saying that it wasn't." She was like, "Oh, you're saying if he would have done it by genre, you would have judged him." I was like, "Oh yeah, 100%." Like if you're
definitely.
like, "All right, Rain, these are all the action adventure movies. These are all the docs."
Yeah, no, because boxes don't care how many you have in one genre. So uh, you have to just go with it, go in order, and one of until you finish. Two of
Yeah.
it ended up being 11. So,
Jeez.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think when we move, I don't think it'll be 11. Or who knows? Maybe it might be. I don't know.
Medium-sized boxes too. They're big boxes. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. Anyway, this has been riveting, but let's go ahead and
Yes. Well, for our listeners who are not in Texas, there you go.
yeah.
Yeah. So Jeremy, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue, um, a a movie that I found out. I found the movie through the podcast I ripped our format from, um, which is Into the Void, which I've talked about before. Um, their thing was mind bending, sort of weird, strange films, and that was one of them. And I looked, I was like, I've never heard of it. And then I saw the poster and I go, hard pass. Uh, uh, I'm like, I'll never see that. That's anime. I don't do that, so it's not for me. And then I think I did a little more digging, and I was like, well, maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll take a look at it. And as long as it's not some of that weird shit, and um, and I looked it up. I was like, okay, it's pretty straightforward. It's centered in reality, which I liked. Um, Therefore, I have made a distinction that I think that is good for me, but I don't know if it exists anywhere else outside of me, which is, to me, there's a difference between anime and Japanese animation. This Perfect
Okay.
Blue is Japanese animation to me. Anime is something completely different. Anime is something like um your television series, right? Let's see if I
Uh-huh.
can do this. Because I don't know, but I've heard other people talk about it. You specifically, moments
I was
ago,
about to
actually.
say, I literally just gave you one.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do is Death Note. Does that count? Is that one?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Death Note is one.
Demon Slayer. Is that another one?
I literally just mentioned that one to you
That's right.
too.
And then you did mention Full Metal Alchemist to me as
Yeah.
well. These are,
Yeah.
I've never heard of them outside of people just talking amongst themselves about it, like other people, like they'll be talking about it. Like, I don't know. That to me is anime. Howl's Moving Castle is anime. Spirited Away is anime. This is Japanese animation. Grave of the Fireflies is Japanese animation. Okay.
You
Um,
know, I'm gonna pause you right there because it's
sure.
interesting you'd say Grave of the Fireflies
Mm-hmm.
when I'm pretty sure Grave of the Fireflies was done by Studio Ghibli,
Which is
which
fine.
is also
Right.
done Spirited Away.
But, it's sort of like, which I agree that, that's weird to make that distinction with the same studio, but that doesn't mean that, you know, studios like American studios do like a fantasy film, an action adventure film, a drama, right? A horror film.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this one to me is Japanese animation. Grave of the Fireflies, yes, by Studio Ghibli, which is fine, but set during World War II, it's deadly serious, deadly realistic, right? And that's what we have here. I think I was reading more about Satoshi Kon, And he said that when there is surrealist moments or sort of mind-bending moments in my films, that it's all done either through delusion, dreams, or technology. So there's always
Hmm.
a realistic explanation for these things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in the
Okay.
other ones, it's just like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh. Yeah. Now, see, now you're almost inspiring me to either add to my list for next season,
Okay.
because man, we got to do Spirited Away, man. Spirited
Oh,
Away is so
okay. Well,
fucking good.
I guess that's fine. Um,
um, but no, yeah, I could get that, because yeah, and I'm pretty sure we mentioned it in our Kira episode. I of the two of us, I have probably watched. I know I have more anime
it's not even
between the
close.
two of us. Um, and yeah, even with Akira, being based on manga and being, an adaptation, there was still a lot of realism, but this was on another level.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say if I've seen anything like it.
Mhm.
And I don't think I have, honestly. Well, I'm trying to think. Hey, I'm trying to look, see if anything catches my eye. Um, I mean,
Well, I gave two examples last week. Um, one of them being Black Swan, which is something,
well,
the story wise, um, Aronofsky sort of, you know, and again, I was listening to the Enter the Void, their Perfect Blue episode, which they split it between Perfect Blue and Paprika, and so they would just jump back and forth between the two movies. But when they got to Perfect Blue, they talked a little bit about Aronofsky and Black Swan, and there they were discussing that, yes, it seems like he completely stole it, but really what it is like he they're they had read that, or they had heard about that they had met Aronofsky had met with um the people who, maybe it was Satoshi Kon. When did he die? He
I
died in
think he died in 2000.
2010. So in
Yeah, I think it was
2010 he
2010.
died. So it was either him or because I don't remember when Black Swan came out, but he was talking about it with the people who own Perfect Blue, and it might have
Uh-huh.
been Satoshi Kon. And he there was rumors that he bought the rights to Perfect Blue so he can use some
The
elements
story.
for Black Swan,
Uh-huh.
right?
Okay.
Um, and the people who own the rights, perhaps Satoshi Kon, was super cool with it. Like it didn't bother them. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. And I thought that was cool. But again, it didn't seem like he was pulling one over on us. Like, I
Yeah.
stole it. Like, this is whatever. This is now my thing. Who cares? But the
You know,
similarities are too obvious here.
right. Well, I was gonna say, and I was even thinking about this while I was watching it. I was like, this movie having come out in '96, I think now would be the time for maybe a live action adaptation, and I think Aronofsky would be great, but I mean, he pretty much already did it, so.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm so glad we are doing another anime film this season.
Mhm.
Um, hang on, I want to see how well our Akira episode did, just so I could see,
Sure.
maybe predict. It has 30 views on YouTube,
30.
so
That's not bad.
that's not bad considering that's double that Dear Zachary got.
Jesus. I was proud of that one.
So I have, yeah, that was a good one, and that one destroyed me. So,
Yeah, that's for sure.
but anyway, so I am glad we're doing another anime film. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen uh an animated film like this.
Yeah.
I even told Ashley, I asked Ashley if she wanted to watch it with me. I was like, I've never seen it before. I don't know anything about this. I just
Yeah.
know that from what Jeremy's told me, which was it's a psychological thriller, and that's all I know. And she was like, no, it's okay. And then immediately when it was done, she was reading in here, and I came in here and was like, you would have loved this, because I know she would have been 100% into it from the jump.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, so Jeremy, would you like to tell everyone what this movie's about?
Sure, I'll try my best.
Okay.
So, Mima is a pop idol, um, part of a trio, sort of a pop trio, and they're very popular. Okay. Um, Input someone's name here. That's how popular they were. It predated. This movie predates Britney Spears by like a year or so. Um, but that would have been like how famous, right?
Right.
These gals are. Mima um, decides, that's in quotes, decides to leave the group to pursue acting. Okay, was it her idea? Not really. It was her agent. Her agent decided, because I think Rumi is her manager. So her agent decided to put her in movies because pop idols don't make enough money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But actors do. So she decides to drop out of the trio, become an actress, and pursue that career. Now, um, she's hesitant, but excited, but cautious. She's sad to leave this life behind, but she's sad to start this new one. Rumi, her manager, used to be a pop idol when she was younger. Now she manages him, obviously, and she thinks it's a bad idea. She does not like that the agent wants to transition her career into acting. She thinks it's a bad idea, but of course, it might just be because she doesn't know anything about acting. She was a pop idol, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So she, Mima, gets a job on a television show, and it's sort of like this gritty crime cop drama show. And she only has one line initially. It's "Excuse me, who are you?" which will become extremely important later on. And throughout this, there is this gentleman, um, Memania, we'll call him because that's his online username. He is obsessed, right? He is
Mm-hmm.
definitely an obsessive fan who just sleep, eats, breathes, dreams Mima, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is not excited about her leaving Cham, the group's name, and pursuing acting. He doesn't like that either. And you think at first that once we find out about this website called Mima's Room, where, of course, this being 97, what is the internet? What is this web page? How do you get to it? All that's all explained in case you don't know. It's also a pre-Mac Apple computer, is what she's on. Um,
Yeah, she's on like a Macintosh 4 or something.
yeah. And so Rumi teaches her how to use the computer, teaches her what a web page is and a URL and all that stuff. And when Mima finds out about this website where it's just going about her day-to-day life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she went, what she did, what foot she stepped off of when she got off the train, all that stuff. It's a little crazy, right? It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem to bother her, which is insane in and of itself, but she thinks it's kind of fun, you know? Um, and we assume that Memania is a part of this website, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that keeps going. Mima gets the job on the television show. She gets she gets more and more added to her character as a series regular as we keep moving forward. And things start to happen to people around her, right? So at first,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's the director or the writer. I think it's the writer of the
It's
television show.
yeah, it's
Um,
the writer, and
gets
it's
the bomb in the letter, um,
oh well, that's actually
or whatever it
right
was.
after she accepts the job,
Mm, right.
and her agent opens it.
Oh, that's what it was. So agent opens the letter. He gets hurt, right? He doesn't die, but he's
Mm-hmm.
not 100%. And and then once she moves forward as the series progresses, um, there is a rape scene that she is going to be a part of that sort of sets her mental state off kilter at that moment, right? That's where things
Mm-hmm.
start to really shift in in her delusions, in her mental state overall.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely hard to watch, and of course the starting and stopping doesn't help either, right? Um, okay, so that happens. Sorry, I forget that I'm doing the plot.
Yeah, it's
Um,
well, and then the screenwriter or the writer
yes,
dies.
yes, the writer dies. She does a photo shoot where this guy's the photographer's a real sleazeball, and he always gets women to take off their clothes to do a full nude spread, and that happens. He ends up dying as well. Um, and throughout all this, again, she's being tormented online, and this guy, this Mimania guy, keeps popping up everywhere, and she's terrified. And she's not quite sure what's reality and what isn't anymore. Things start to blend seamlessly through what is dreams, what is her her life on the television show, her life outside of that, her real life. All of that is blending all together. Cham is doing much better without her as a duo, which is sad. Um, and again, as her as her career progresses into this new chapter, people keep dying around her, right? To where she may
Mm-hmm.
even think it's her, right? In fact, near the end of the film, where we're almost at the climax, she starts checking Mima's room, the website, just to see what she did that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Oh, I must have gone to the store. That's nice," right? She's really starting to lose it. Eventually, um, Rumi is there to comfort her, and she goes, "We're going to take you back to Mima's room." And at first, that means nothing until you realize that when she says that, she's taking her to an apartment that looks exactly like hers, except that it isn't. It's Rumi's. Rumi has
Mm-hmm.
been behind Mima's room and egging on Mimania to conduct some of these murders. And in fact, Rumi murders um, the photographer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you realize that Rumi has the sort of dissociative identity disorder where she believes she is Mima and she is, quote, the real Mima, and that she is trying to get her life back on track into being a pop idol like she knows she should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that whole sequence ensues. Rumi ends up getting caught, thank God, and put in a mental facility. And Mima assures herself that she is, in fact, the real deal. That was a very long and yada yada through synopsis because this movie is crazy, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
this movie's got a lot of stuff going on.
yeah. I was not expecting that. When I put it on, I did read the back of my Blu-ray, and I was like okay, so like we have an obsessive fan, we have the lines blurring between reality and you know everything else. I was like, okay, I think I'll kind of know what to expect going in. And thankfully, as some of the other movies we've done this season, This exceeded my expectations because I wasn't expecting anything.
Yeah,
Um, I thought for sure Mimania would have been revealed as he's been behind it the whole time.
of course. Yeah.
That was actually one of my theories. I had multiple theories while I was watching. That was one of them. The other one is that Mima really has snapped
Hmm.
and she is killing everyone. And she's so I thought for sure that she was just so backlogged with everything that she just has uh I always have trouble with saying this word. um I can't say it and now
There you
I'm
go.
embarrassed. uh car- Hang on. I'm so embarrassed I'm doing this on camera
There you
right
go.
now. Can't do it, and now my brain is like looping back to that
That's okay.
word. um Anyway, so she's just like repressed it
Yeah.
essentially. That's not the word I was
Oh,
wanting to use, but if
compartmentalized. Is that the word?
I
Compartmental.
always have such a hard
I
time
understand.
saying that, and I don't know why. But yes, but then when it's revealed to be Rumi, I was not expecting that
No, it
at
wouldn't have.
all.
It would have never occurred to me that it was Rumi at all.
Well, and I feel like that's what makes the movie so good
Yeah.
is that we just assume Rumi is just there
Well,
in the background.
yeah, and then it does something so cool where there are moments that you're thinking are Mima's delusion, right?
Hmm.
Or it's sort of a break from reality, where especially when Mima, the pop idol, rejoins Cham on stage. Okay,
Hmm.
here's this point where this is actually happening. They are at a Cham concert with the duo. Okay, Mima's watching it. There are people there, real people. Okay, and here comes Mima, the the I think she might be in red at this point, in her red ballerina outfit.
I don't think
Um,
so. I
Maybe
think
she's
she
still in the
was.
pink. I don't remember,
Yeah.
um, but it seems to really be happening because people are responding to it and cheering. However, here's where it gets really cool and where the animation really excels is that the faces of the two Cham girls looked scared and concerned, right? They look
Hmm.
worried.
Yeah.
Where everyone else is cheering and applauding Mima's return, they're like, "What is going on? Who is this?" Right? Um, or maybe they knew, right? Maybe they knew it was Rumi,
Right.
and they're like, "Why is Rumi up here wearing this outfit? This makes no sense." And you can tell on their face. I saw it the last night, and I recognized it this time that I was like, "Okay, their faces are acknowledging that it's strange." So
Hmm.
that's a cool detail for animation. Good job. Um, that I thought was incredible, right? It's an incredible detail that, again, and you're still sort of like second guessing yourself because you're like, there's no way that's real, right? Just like she's
Yeah.
not on the radio show, right? That's not real. So, the we'll call her the real Mima, which is the Rumi, because she
Hmm.
keeps referring to herself as the real Mima. Um, you think of it at first as sort of like Mima's disassociation and her splitting of her personas, right? Because you have her old pop idol persona, the one um that was, young, innocent, um and then you have this new actor persona which is a little smuttier, a little dirtier, a little more adult, right?
Hmm.
And you think of, you know, this film as one persona trying to claim ownership over the other and over the core person, the core self. Um,
Hmm.
and then, of course, there's that whole subsection of the film, which is just being harassed online, right? And
Uh-huh.
these obsessive fans. In my research, I did do some. Um,
I
I
meant to do
hate,
more.
I hated that multiple people did this. Okay,
Uh-huh.
multiple people kept referring to Me Mania as standing and being a stan, I couldn't stand it. I was like, quit. Like to me, it's cheapening what is going on right now. You know, I get that
Yeah,
I guess it's a legitimate term that people use now, which is fine.
I
Um,
was just about to ask you if you knew what it meant or
I
not.
do. I
Okay.
do know what it means. I don't think it's relevant. It's relevant to a point, but to use it as the term, I don't think so. I don't like that at all.
Well, and I agree with you. It lessens what he's actually doing because
Yeah.
for anyone out there listening or watching that doesn't know what the term "stan" means, is just I don't know where it comes from, but it's essentially that you are a fan of something.
Oh, it comes
And
from Eminem. It comes from the song.
oh,
And
see, I
um,
just learned something new.
oh, okay, yes, it comes from the Eminem song, which is why I'm like, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah, yeah, and now that I know that, that is like an extreme
Yeah.
example of fandom, which I guess makes sense for this, but it's still, I mean, but
Well, it kind of does,
and
and you have just proven the point of the other people that either I was reading or I was watching videos. You've just proven the point that it's transcended its origin because you
yeah,
just know the meaning of it. You didn't know where it came from, right? And
yeah.
so I guess I'm wrong, and you just proved their point. And I guess
Well, but here's my thing. I've always associated the term "stan" as just like a casual fan. Like you and I
oh, that is completely wrong.
are, if I was always under the impression that like to use it in a sentence, you and I are stans of David Lynch.
Oh no,
Like and that's what I would say.
that's
I
hilarious.
wouldn't say I wouldn't say what now granted I don't use stan, I always say I'm a fan of, but
Yeah.
anyway. But Mimania, I would say is not that. This is obsession. This
Well, and
is
that is what standing. Damn it,
well,
we're going down this, but it's it is this obsession in this sort of like this this I guess they feel like they have ownership, right?
hmm,
They
like they're
have
owed something.
yes, because and again the visual language of this film is so wonderful because we meet Mamania when he's doing this forced perspective thing
With his
where
hand, yeah.
right where Mima is literally in the palm of his hand, right? As if she's an
Hmm.
object to be owned, right? And so that is,
Hmm.
I get this, that this is sort of like this toxic ownership or this, it's not real ownership because they don't, right? They feel like they are owed this sort of this sort of ownership, and they feel as if that because they are defending these people and they are such big fans and that they will literally fight someone who disagrees that they are owed this ownership. And that is just that's
Hmm.
ridiculous. But it is completely legitimate that this film was so ahead of because that's how
Oh
people act now, right?
yeah, 100%.
This
Yeah, yeah.
this
It's
Perfect Blue is miles ahead of where we would end up because they nailed it.
oh yeah. It's yeah because definitely within the last few years, this obsession with celebrity, has grown. I'm not going to name names because I don't want our show to get canceled, but I think you'll know who I'm referring to. Uh, being that you and I are best friends, you should know who I personally hate.
Sure.
Um, but I'm not going to name her name
Nope.
because
Can't do it.
I
Won't
don't
do
want people to come at us.
it.
So, but that's a perfect example right there.
Yeah.
There's this mania surrounding this celebrity, and you know people will defend her tooth and nail
Yeah.
regardless. She can do no wrong. And yeah, and this movie from 1996 called it. And because the minute that forced perspective shot came up,
Yeah.
I was like, he thinks he owns her. And and that's why my first theory came to. I was like, he's gonna be the one behind all of this.
And it proves also the point that it's not creepy and obsessive if you're attractive, because if he was better looking, I feel like this wouldn't be an issue. um God, he's
Well,
ugly,
and
right?
see, well, and I think that's another reason. I think they did that to drive the point home
Yes.
of, yeah.
I would have loved it. I think, this movie is amazing, and I do love this movie. I feel like it would have been such a catastrophic step up if he had nothing to do with anything, and if he was
Mhm.
harmless the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Harmless in a sense
He
where he didn't kill anybody.
right. He just happened to be there.
However, I did see that people there are some people who believe that he doesn't exist at all.
Mm,
There's
I
instead, all right, apart from the very beginning where he gets in a fight with those guys,
mhm.
um, other than that, he doesn't really interact with anybody else, um, ever. He's usually just somewhere in the background that she notices, or we just see him in his apartment, right? Obviously, seeing him
Right.
in his apartment infers he exists, so that's fine. Um,
Well, and of course, we see his dead body uh
until she
stacked.
takes until she takes Rumi back there, and then he's gone. So,
Well,
um,
see, my my thinking of that, because we see his dead body stacked on top of the agents.
mhm,
Um, my thinking with that is that Rumi went and
moved him.
that blow to the temple didn't initially kill him. Maybe it
Yeah,
just knocked him out for a little bit,
mhm,
and then Rumi found him and disposed of him.
and killed him. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, at least that's my theory.
Yeah, and of course, Rumi didn't do all the killings. I think Mimani is responsible for some of these.
I think Rumi only really killed.
The
She
photographer,
definitely killed the photographer,
definitely.
and I think she killed the agent. I think Mr. Takamoto.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, she definitely killed him
Okay,
because they were always at odds with one
yeah,
another. Then my theory, I think she killed Mamania as well.
yeah, okay. Um, again, I
Well,
think it would have been cooler if he was just like some sort of obsessive fan, but not dangerous. There's obviously a
yeah.
lot of evidence to support like we should make him dangerous. That makes perfect sense to me. That it's not like there's no evidence to suggest that fans can't be dangerous. Uh, we have
Yeah.
Selena and John Lennon to thank for those examples. Um,
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
but yeah, anyway, so other things I love about this film is the blending of dreams, reality, and this, I guess, quasi reality, as in the television show. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's that sequence where she keeps waking up from these
Oh, yeah.
dreams, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wait, what is going on? Because you keep thinking that the story is progressing, and we're getting closer to this, or we're she's gonna, oh no, she's in danger, or oh, maybe she did do it and she's been caught and they're interviewing her, but that's like, no, that's just a part of the show. And then you know oh wait, no, that was just a dream, and wait, it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Those sequences were awesome, but also very confusing. And of course, you're disoriented just like she is, because now I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and neither does she. And I
Yeah.
guess that's how she feels.
Yeah. And it's, uh, you know, there have been other films like this one, that delve into, you know, paranoia and, um, not knowing what's real and what's not. There was that really great film called Paranoid Chant. I can't remember who directed it. Um,
Sure.
Shout out to our short film called Paranoid. Uh,
Yes, shout out to Alex. Shout out to us. Look at us go.
yeah.
It
um,
has tens of views on YouTube. Go check that.
I think it has a lot, and honestly, a lot of it might come from me because I will rewatch it occasionally, just because I'm really proud of what we did. So
Honestly, it's
like
what
I
Alex did.
will.
Alex did most of it, if not all of it, because like it lives in the editing and he edited
It
it.
has
So
535 views.
boom, nailed it, guys.
Um, yes, it does live with the editing. All we did is I just filmed it and we just bounced ideas off of one another. Like, yeah, he would do that. Anyway, back to my point. There
Right.
have been a ton of films that dive into obsession, that dive into paranoia, but yeah, this film, especially with that scene, because yeah, I was disoriented and I was like, wait, it's a dream. Wait, it's not a dream, but it is a dream.
Yeah.
Like it.
She's on
I
set on the show, and then it's like, wait, no, now she's what? It's crazy. Yeah.
she's ruining a take now, but then she didn't ruin a take. I don't.
Mhm.
It's and it's so well crafted.
Mhm.
Like you just said with the editing, like it's. I feel like if we'd been given a definitive answer, like, oh no, she was just dreaming, like she was just dreaming the whole time.
If there
It
were,
would have been.
yeah, you're right. If there were clues, most, not most, but some, especially in television, they'll blur the edges a little of your screen to let you know it's a
Mm-hmm.
dream. Things like that. Subtle visual clues to let you know that they're dreaming. Here, you just have no idea until he's ready to tell you. And
Yeah.
again, very disorienting. And I can't imagine what it would be like to have this sort of break from reality, being completely confused all the time, but still have to pretend to be someone every once in a
Mm-hmm.
while, and then
Yeah.
that sort of play into your confusion and your delusions and your sort of in your break from reality, right? um
Yeah.
and again, it all started
Well,
with that rape scene. I think that's
mm,
when her psyche just broke.
I th- I think so because she had when she looked at Mima's room. You're right. She kind of laughed it off. The part that kind of shook her was when she was reading the diary entry of, I went to the store today and I bought cow branded milk.
Yeah.
Like I can only have the best milk. And that's what kind of shook her because she was like, I actually did do that.
Yeah.
Like, how do they know? Um, I think that was like maybe the the start, but then I think you're right. The catalyst was the rape scene.
Yeah.
Which even though she agreed to doing the rape scene, that she still had reservations about it. Like, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
but
well, and then of course it goes back to maybe maybe Rumi was right. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe this was a mistake and I should be doing music instead of this. I should have kept doing that. This is scary and new and potentially dangerous and different. And then all that in this explosively violent thing that they have to do, you know.
and it, I I know how this is going to sound. It may sound awful, but I couldn't help but laugh when the male actor is like, "I'm so sorry about
Mhm.
this," and she's like, "No, it's okay." Like,
Yeah.
like I couldn't help but laugh because that doesn't help her with her psyche right now. Is that this
Yeah.
guy is acting like he's doing something horrendous to her,
Yeah.
but then is like, I'm so sorry. Like
Yeah. So sorry.
like you know, uh, which is, if I'm being perfectly honest, all I could think about was irreversible during that scene.
Oh, sure.
And also it made me wonder if the actor and Monica Bellucci, if that happened to, like, he's just like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry about this.
Maybe.
Also, side note, if you've made it this deep into the episode, if you're seeing Saltburn or you're being shocked by that, go watch Irreversible. Like, I've seen
Sure.
everyone talk about how shocking Saltburn is, and like when I was watching it over Ashley's shoulder, I was like, this isn't that shocking. Like, I watched a 10-minute rape scene.
No.
I'm numb to this.
Yeah.
Like, this is not shocking. God damn it. It did
Yep,
it
there it
again.
is. There's a thumbs up. You did it. Way to go.
Son of a bitch.
Wait do you see Incendies? Anyway, doesn't matter. So,
but anyway, but no, I think you're right. I think the rape scene is what broke the camel's back, because that's when she starts to get more paranoid. Is when she starts to become more unhinged. She doesn't know what's real. You know, especially, oh my god, especially with the rap, the final scene she shoots for the show.
Yeah.
We hear her say her own name.
Yeah.
And then it rewinds and she says the character's name.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, I'm going to be a famous model. And I was like,
yeah, again, we have no clue, you know, what's going on, what's real. Did she actually say it? Was this all in her mind? Is she dreaming again? You're right. It's disorienting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it adds again to the audience of, we don't even know what's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did she really just say her name?
Yeah.
Like, is she becoming that unhinged? And we kind of get a little more of that when she bumps into the actor that plays the psychiatrist for the show. And the actor's like, oh no, you don't have to call me doctor. You know, we're not running lines.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, yeah, it's very disorienting. And then we get the last 15 minutes of the movie that is just this unrelenting chase scene.
So, okay, I'm glad we're transitioning to this, because this is where I wanted to go. Because
cool.
Yes, the her saying her name and then it going back and her saying the correct name and then saying model instead of, you know, actress, right? The chase scene between Rumi and Mima is amazing, because if nothing else, you could have lost half of it, okay, and I would have still been giddy as all get out. If all I needed was her, the bouncing, floating Mima, and then in the reflection, it's Rumi running as hard as she can with that umbrella. And then you start hearing her footsteps along with the bouncing. It's incredible. It's because it's showing us what's really happening and what Mima is experiencing in her delusion, what she's seeing or what she's perceiving to happen. And it's so cool. I can't, you know, it's awesome. And again, the reveal is insane, but
yeah, man, you know, and this, if anyone wanted to say anything about, you know, like what you said at the top of the show, this is Japanese animation versus anime. If I would say this is the most surreal, like with the reflection, you know, the closest thing to, I guess, what would veer into anime territory, but it works so well in this context because, like you said, we're seeing what Mima thinks she's seeing, which is the real Mima floating and chasing, and, you know, she's, you know, almost like a princess, you know, just kind of hopping along.
It's really unsettling. It's unsettling.
It really is.
Yeah. The way,
especially when she takes the wig off and she finally sees Rumi's face. Insane. And that's also sort of an anime trope where we see her stab herself and then it just gush of blood just hits the ground.
Is that a normal thing? Because I thought it was strange. I thought it was really weird, especially in that happened with the photographer too, because he was stabbed. It took a minute, like a few beats, and then it started gushing blood. And I go, that's weird. Yeah,
it's it doesn't happen a whole lot in more of like violent anime. It happens, but I always like it because it is very jarring and it's very like it's like the easiest way to know that the character's been stabbed, you
Sure.
know? Especially in that moment when I was like, wait, I don't think that glass is really going to stab her. And then we just see this
Yeah.
explosion of blood. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, she stabbed herself.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that was wild. Although that's all
yeah.
the blood in her body right there that just came out of her.
uh, but yeah, it just, you know, and what I really applauded is the story has built Mima up as this very caring person. And even in that moment, the person who essentially has been gaslighting her from the whole movie, she can't just like let the truck take her out. She has to try to save Rumi.
Yeah.
And and I appreciate that. I feel like it would have been really heartless if she just like, well, she's a goner. I'll just stand right here where it's safe.
Well, and again, we've been seeing a lot of things through Mima's delusion. In that moment, we're seeing it through Rumi's because Rumi stands up as if the lights are stage lights, as if she's,
Mm-hmm.
performing, right? And that's a little peek into her delusion, which I like.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, and I love that this had a happy ending, not a lot of anime has a happy ending. I mean, look at the anime that I got you into, Cowboy Bebop. It doesn't technically have a happy ending. Our main hero, our boy Spike Spiegel,
Yeah,
dies at the very end.
yeah.
But he finally gets his revenge. So I guess that's kind of happy, but
That's sort of like it's bittersweet.
yeah,
I would say this
yeah.
one, I don't know. Do I think it's a happy ending? I don't know. Maybe.
I think it is for Mima because I
Uh-huh.
did read where the title comes from.
Mhm.
Because again, we've established that Mima is deep down a caring person, and so she regularly checks on Rumi in the mental institution, and the doctor tells her, there are days where she's Rumi again, but then there are other days where, the alter takes over.
Yeah.
And this is where the title comes from, which is it's a sunny, perfect blue day.
Mhm.
Knowing that all the confusion in Mima's life is gone.
Yeah.
That she can be fine again. And also, and I love in a line of dialogue that they established that she's become a very well-known actress at this point.
Mhm.
Because the nurses are like, no way, the real Mima wouldn't come down here.
Well, and then again, that's sort of like, well, who is the real Mima, right? I mean, now we're, here now we're talking, because
Now we're full circle again.
yeah, because it's that sort of who are you sort of a thing, right? And that goes back to, splitting personas between her real self, her actor self, her pop idol self, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, that's no accident that they're using terms like real Mima, right?
Yeah.
And her, reassuring herself in the rearview mirror that she's the real deal. That's
Mm-hmm.
sort of strange. I feel that that's a strange moment, and I don't know if I'm meant to think that or what. I don't know.
I think we're meant as the audience. I think we're meant to interpret that as this is the only way that she knows that she's real. That she has to assure herself, I am the real Mima. It kind of reminded me of, even though I never saw the movie, Ashley told me about it, and you're gonna laugh. The final Hunger Games movie.
You're right. I did. Look at that. I chuckled.
Josh Hutcherson had been tortured in the previous one into not knowing what was real and what wasn't, and apparently in the final one, he will occasionally ask Katniss, "Is this real life?"
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just that fucked up.
I
And
vaguely
so
remember
that's
that.
how
I've seen it, but
well, that's how I kind of interpret it, is that even though she came out of the other side of this solid, she didn't die, she actually got to maintain a career, she's still so fucked up that she has to reassure herself,
yeah,
like,
maybe.
no, I am I am the real Mima.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
maybe
we
you're right.
won't know.
Yeah. And
I
that's really
think,
fun, you know?
yeah, well, and I was just about to say, I think this movie really lives perfectly in an ambiguous ending, you
Mhm.
know. But yeah, I did read that the clear blue sky is the perfect blue
Perfect blue.
to symbolize that her confusion is gone,
Mhm.
that she knows who she is. But as you said, we why is she reassuring herself if the confusion is gone?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
buddy.
But you liked it.
Yeah. If this wasn't clear enough, I loved it. I thought it was great. Um, even though it's only an hour and 20 minutes, I know we've said it about other films in the past, but I was like, man, I want more.
Yeah.
I don't want this to end.
Yeah, the pacing is very fast. Not in a bad way necessarily because it works, right?
Hmm.
It's just fast. Things happen very quickly. Um, we go through these plot points and these beats. We go through them very fast. There's really no downtime, which is fine. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just unusual, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Especially
It's
for
not even
most
90
people.
minutes. This thing is like
Yeah,
80 something minutes.
yeah. And if we kind of compare it to our previous anime film we did this season, Akira, there are times of these, you know, there's moments where we don't really know what's going on,
Mhm.
and but yeah, man, I don't think there'll be another movie like this,
No, I
like
don't think so.
at all.
They've been trying to do a live action remake of this for years, and I don't know if it'll ever happen. But uh,
I don't
even
think it
if it
should.
should,
As
you know,
I did read that apparently originally it was supposed to be live action,
yes,
but
that's true.
they had too many backers pulling out, and so they're like, nope, then we'll just animate it.
Yeah, which is
Which I think
better, you know.
I agree. I think it is significantly better. I think it
Yeah,
tells the story better. Because it could work live action.
sure.
I'm not saying it couldn't, but I think in this context, it's perfect as is.
Hmm. I agree. I don't know how they would have done a lot of these things live action, especially the Mima's um Mima's version of what she's seeing when she sees the
Mhm.
real Mima. Um, I don't know what that would have looked like in live action. It wouldn't have looked as good, I don't think. Um,
Yeah, they would have had to do a composite shot of the same actor twice, but then would have had to film a scene separately to see Rumi's reflection in the mirror.
right.
So they would have essentially had to shoot the scene 3 times from 3 different
Yeah.
angles.
Well, yeah, and then like to get her to float and bounce like that. I don't know if that would have looked very good, or if
Yeah,
they would have done something different. They may have would have scrapped that entirely. But again, I think it's unsettling, and I think it works. Um,
I agree. Especially we didn't mention, especially when Rumi puts the the wig back on and she looks like Mima as she's wiping blood across her face.
yeah,
Like,
I know. Well, and another when we're in Mimania's apartment and all of the pictures of Mima are talking to him at the same time. That was pretty
yeah,
cool. I liked that a lot. Um,
yeah,
it's very scary.
yeah. But all right, buddy, are you
Yeah,
ready to wrap up? Wrap up? Wrap up?
I am. Um, yeah, loved it. Obviously, surprised
Yeah.
that I loved it. Again, it's one of those things where when I put anime on or Japanese animation in this case, it feels like I'm not supposed to be watching it. I think it's because I have such an aversion to it that it's just like I
Mhm.
don't know, man. Like it feels weird that I'm watching it, and then when I enjoy it, it's just I think it's just that much more. Then I'm like, oh, and I liked it. That was cool. You know, didn't expect that.
Well, didn't you tell me you got his other film, Paprika?
Yes, it's behind me somewhere.
And have you watched that yet or no?
The only time I put it in, I was I was super tipsy, and I wasn't really following along. Uh, I'll tell you this. From what I remember, it is wild, just bananas crazy, because it has to do with dreams and going into people's dreams, and again, the strangeness, the surreal aspects are technology in this case. Um, and I just remember just being floored by the visuals, but not following along what was going on. So
So essentially, like I'm too drunk to watch this.
yes, and to taste this chicken, um,
To quote the late great Colonel Sanders.
yeah, and I also want to see Tokyo Godfathers, and I do want to see Millennium Actress. I do want to see those. Um,
Yeah, I was reading that a lot of the themes that are in this film are in some of his other films
yeah,
as well. So
yeah. So a Millennium
yeah,
Actress is on my list for sure. Tokyo Godfathers less so, but it does seem interesting. It's homeless people in Tokyo find a baby, and they try to find the baby's parents. Like that's the story, and that sounds like fun. So,
yeah,
and again, Japanese animation. That's not anime.
yeah.
That's a straightforward story. Nothing strange about that.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, with anime, you got filler episodes, you've got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, weird
Not
stuff.
Cowboy Bebop though.
No,
Cowboy
that's
Bebop
different.
is very straight. It's very straightforward.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool. Yeah, that one's obviously I like that one. There's no there's no steampunk castle and talking fire or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just straightforward stuff.
Dude, you're knocking Howl's Moving Castle, but Billy Crystal voices Calcifer for the
Yeah.
dub, and it's
Oh,
perfect.
that's a good oops, I forgot. Did you watch this movie dub or sub?
I watched it dubbed
So did I.
because since I had never seen it, I didn't want to go into it having an expectation. Because sometimes, more often than not, the sub is better than the dub. Like Demon Slayer, for example, is way better subbed. Same with Attack on Titan.
Okay.
But I was like,
Well, that's
I
one
don't
I've
want to
heard
go
of.
into this. I don't want to go into this with a very high expectation, so I'll just watch the dub.
I think
And
if I were to have watched it subbed, which I guess I don't have a problem with it. I would have missed something, you know.
I
I would
agree.
have missed something cool visually, and that's too important. I think the visuals in this film are too important in what it sounds like or what is being said necessarily. Because I do know that they differentiate. I think people who watch anime, please let me know, because I
Well,
know that
and
there is people stand over dub or sub because the sub community is like they think they're better than me, and that's
it's okay. Well, first, let me answer the first part.
sure.
It has to do with the translation, of
Hmm.
course, because the lip flaps have to match a certain cadence.
Sure.
So sometimes they have to change words that may have not have been said in the original sub to make it fit. But then the other part of it, yeah, sub versus dub has been a constant fight within anime.
Hmm.
I know me and my assistant manager have constant arguments over dub versus sub. Now that I've seen a few animes subbed, I'm a bit of both. There are a handful of animes I will strictly only watch dub. Dragon Ball Z is one of them. Sean Chamel is Goku, and Chris Sabat is Vegeta. I will only watch it dubbed. Same with Cowboy Bebop. Steve Bloom is Spike Spiegel. I will never listen to anyone else. But I started watching Demon Slayer subbed. And then when the dub came out, I was like, I'm just curious. I watched it and it's fine. They have some great voice cast. But compared to the sub, those voice actors, their inflections and their emotion and their voice is much better
I
than
see.
an American voice actor. And I think that's where the issue lies. I think that's why there's this massive argument.
Sure.
My Hero Academia is another one I will only watch dub.
Man, these titles. Christ.
Uh,
I've heard of that one, by the way.
Well, and then one more. Trigun. I will only watch dub because Johnny Young Bosch, Adam, the second Black Power Ranger,
Mhm.
is Vash the Stampede.
Okay.
Like, I will only watch it dub. But anyway, but yeah, I think that's it. I think, and there's nothing wrong. I think with American voice actors, I think a lot of them are fantastic. Like the
Mhm.
ones I mentioned: Sean Shamel, Chris Sabat, Johnny Young Bosch, Steve Bloom, especially Steve Bloom is actually even in Perfect Blue.
Oh,
He's credited as Mima fan. He
cool.
only has like 4 lines in the whole movie,
Mhm.
but I don't think I could see why people argue, but me personally, if it's got a compelling story, I don't care. Like I'm
Okay.
gonna watch it one way or the other.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. Like my assistant manager, he loves One Piece, and he will watch it regardless. Like he has Crunchyroll, so as soon as the new episode premieres, he'll watch it sub. He doesn't care. So I think I think people just need to quit arguing and just watch the fucking anime.
Well, I don't know if that's the lesson, but but yeah, because I'm trying to think. I will say that, oh, you know what? I am guilty of this. I'm guilty of being a sub stan. Because I started watching this years and years ago. Let the Right One In, and I started watching it
Yeah.
dubbed in English, and I was like, I don't like this, and so I changed it to sub because it was driving me crazy. So I guess I do understand.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and and then that's the difference, with a foreign language film that's just been dubbed over with English versus anime, where they're precisely trying to get the mouth
No, I see.
flaps to match,
I didn't think
because
that
when
mattered
you
that
look
much,
at like,
but I guess you're right that it must, because I guess some Japanese phrases, the equivalent of an American phrase could be longer or shorter, and so that makes sense. I got it.
correct, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, when they first started dubbing anime, it's back in the 60s, with
Yeah,
Speed Racer,
yeah, I've heard of
so the Wachowskis definitely don't want you to forget
that.
about Speed Racer.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, that's what we're doing next week, Speed
Oh,
Racer.
great, great. I was just about
No,
to ask.
absolutely not. I've seen that movie multiple times.
Multiple times.
We have it recorded at the store, and I
Oh
just put it
man,
on. I just put it on as background noise. I
sure.
don't pay attention to it
Yeah.
because if I do,
Which is-
I will start critiquing it in front of people because the Wachowskis want you to understand. Like, hey, do you remember Speed Racer from the 1960s? Like, hey, do you remember Speed Racer? That's the whole movie. And God bless Emil Hirsch for trying. He tried so hard to make that character likable,
Yeah,
but that movie sucks.
just not happening.
Yeah.
Fine.
But to answer your question, what we're doing next week,
Yeah, please. What are we doing next?
am going to give you a choice.
Great.
You have option 1, and
Okay.
you have option 2.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm.
Because we
Oh,
are getting to the end.
yeah,
We're
we
getting
are.
close to the end of this season.
We're getting there. So my gut says 2, so I'm gonna go 1.
So you're gonna go 1. Okay. Number 1. That's gonna be it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, number 1. A lot of people are gonna think, hey, that movie's a sequel. Why aren't you doing the first movie? Because we make our own rules.
I'm
That's
already
why.
excited. I already know what it is.
And this director just won literally a fucking Golden Globe. Literally, like probably an hour ago. Next week, we are doing Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight.
Cool.
Like I said, probably most people out there, Zach, are like, why aren't you doing Batman Begins?
I think people like Zach know. People like Zach know why. You know?
Yeah. The Dark Knight stands. You can jump into The Dark Knight without having seen Batman Begins to understand
I think so.
Christopher Nolan's version of Gotham.
I think the
And
only thing I think the only thing weird about if you were to just jump in to watch The Dark Knight is you're gonna be like, why is Cillian Murphy only in 2 minutes of this movie? You know, isn't he sort of a big deal? I
Yeah.
think maybe that would be your only weirdness.
But yeah, I decided to do this one, man, because it's, of course, as you know, it's widely regarded as one of the best comic book movies ever
Yes.
made.
Yeah, that is facts.
Had Christopher Nolan never given us this movie especially, I'm not going to give the trilogy credit because The Dark Knight Rises is my least favorite of the three.
Mm-hmm.
But if Chris had not given us this movie, we would have never gotten Matt Reeves as the Batman. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Because
yeah. I mean, we can harken all of this back to Tim Burton and just call it a day. Because
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Tim walked so Christopher Nolan and Matt Reeves could run.
Or we could go even a step further, and I would say without Frank Miller, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Is that too much of a deep cut? It's stuff you didn't think I knew,
No. Dude, I know you know who Frank Miller is.
Right.
I mean, he also did Sin City, and he's in the movie too.
That's true. He is in the movie. God, he's old.
But yeah, I really wanted to do this one just because it's, again, widely considered one of the best comic book movies ever made, but also It is a awesome, just insane film as a whole. And of course, like I said, Christopher Nolan just got a fucking Golden Globe for Oppenheimer, so why not?
Why not?
It's time.
Sure. All right, cool.
Yeah. Alrighty, everyone. We hoped you enjoyed this episode on Perfect Blue, and we'll see you next week for The Dark Knight.